Good evening and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, whether live or on demand. We are the boys from the Baltic Star and we play narrative games. My name is Ben and my colleague, who is not in a room entirely proofed against the spilling of red wine, is Ewan. Good evening, Ewan. How are you?
Hello, Ben. I'm very good, thanks. I'm very good. Hopefully, there shall be no spilled red wine. In rage quit as I throw it across the room when we inevitably perish. That's not going to happen, is it?
No, I mean it just can't. I mean, we've put in too much effort in this one. We've achieved too many magic items. It's absolutely clear that we must be able to survive this one tonight. I'm sure we're going to win. I'm sure we're going to see it through. I'm not actually sure about any of those things, but you never know. So
it's nice to hear them.
It is good to hear. Yes, it's the best I can do is the sort of hearing of it. So
Exactly.
As Luke often says, it's a Friday night, and on Friday night, when all three of us are around, we play Traveller. But we're not all around, so we can't play Traveller. So instead, we are going to return to Firetop Mountain, or more specifically, return to Firetop Mountain.
Yep.
This was book number 50 in the Fighting Fantasy series, and we played the first part of it. We never have any idea, absolutely no idea at all, how long these games are going to last, because we do have a habit of bringing them to an abrupt conclusion whenever the fates have that in for us, rather than when we might actually theoretically think it would be a good idea to to finish the game. So you'll just have to bear with us. We are some way through, and we've so far made it into Firetop Mountain, which was a much more prolonged exercise than our first Firetop Mountain adventure, wasn't it? We ended up going to a village and meeting a person and defeating a wizard or something. It was complicated.
Went to a shop.
Got a lot of stuff from the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got cursed, but we did pick up some supplies and emergencies, and we have a ring of invisibility, and we have a brass egg and an onyx egg, whatever those are useful for. And we have a dragon's tooth with the number 315 and with an image of a heart in a flaming circle on it.
Circle, yeah.
Which may or may not prove to be useful, but, you know. Apparently we need at least 2 dragon's teeth. And we need to throw them on the floor and say the magic word, basically. But I don't think we technically know the magic word yet. So there is work still to be done.
There's some ridiculous kind of code, wasn't there? Wasn't the first thing we got when we entered a note that was at the time indecipherable to us, and I don't think we've had any progress.
I have on my instructions, turn to 316 and it will tell you what to do. And it was the... Yes, so essentially what he said was, dragon's teeth cast in gold, each stamped with a number. Each tooth has a special power, but you must learn the magic word that releases their elemental powers.
Yeah.
You simply have to throw the teeth on the floor in order to activate them. Curiously enough, you'll find the dragon's teeth inside the labyrinths of Firetop Mountain. It was the sort of deal that the warlock did in order to resurrect. He had to keep the means of his own demise close to him.
Yep. You are correct.
Yes. So, we have just had a little minor success. We've come across a corridor with 3 rooms off it, and we went into the first of the rooms where we grubbed around on the floor and then found a sort of secret chink in the wall, and we extracted good things from there. And I mention this in particular because there are 2 more of these rooms, and presumably one of them contains instant death.
Yes.
And if that turns out to be the next room, this could be a very, very short game. Okay.
Yeah, or at least a short stream for sure.
Yes, a short stream because we've done the first 2 hours of the game last time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am very lacking in stamina. I have a paltry amount of luck, and I'm cursed, so my skill is down 2 as well. I hope there may be an opportunity to undo the curse at some point, but we'll find out, and I imagine it will depend on whether or not we survive this room. So, we are at the second
Yes.
door. You listen intently at the door, but you can hear no sounds coming from the other side. You turn the handle and find that the door is unlocked. We can enter the room or go on to the third door. Now, maybe it's just me, but I feel very strongly that we have to, don't we, enter the room? It's a door.
It is a door, yes. Yes.
And,
Well, I mean, we've opened it, but.
And very clearly a door. I mean, it's not a natural door, it's not a fake door, it's an actual door. And we open doors. It's what we do. So
Ever
are you
since our
comfortable
first
with
trip
that?
to Firetop Mountain, in fact.
Yeah.
Let's do it. We
Okay.
opened it for a reason.
So we are going to enter the room, turn to 226. And we'll find out if this is instant death. The door opens into a small room which appears to have been an armoury a long time ago. There are 3 broken swords standing in a rack, some broken spears leaning against the wall in the far corner, and various pieces of dented and rusty armour lying on shelves. The floor is covered with a thick layer of dust, and you notice that there are footprints in the dust leading over to the far wall. We can walk over to the far wall ourselves, or close the door and move on.
Oh, I have more questions about the footprints, Ben.
Me too.
They stop suddenly in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
And are surrounded by blood and a skeleton, because that would answer the question for me.
Yes, it would. Do the footprints suddenly end digestively?
Yes, precisely.
It doesn't give us any such hints, just that there are footprints in the dust. I mean, obviously, this could be a terrible mistake and an obvious trap, but I'm tempted to say we've got to investigate. What do you think?
Yes, it's hard without context. It's hard to determine whether this is. Are you sure you want to do what you set out to do? We're giving you one last chance to turn around.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think we've opened the door. We've entered the room. There are footprints. I assume the game would tell us if there was a, horrific scene of a dead body.
I mean, it could obviously be a trap. It could obviously lead to a trap. But equally, it may be a non-fatal trap, right?
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
It could just sap
I don't know
us
how
of
many
our
of those
very
we've come
scant
across,
stamina.
Well, yes. Let's give it a go.
Okay, let's give it a go. We will walk over to the far wall ourselves. That's 289. While you're walking across the dusty floor, the door swings shut behind you. The moment the door closes, some of the broken weapons start to move of their own accord. The swords rise from their rack and the spears move out of the corner. You find yourself surrounded by a circle of hovering weapons. Do we make a run for the door, fight the weapons, or drop our swords? I mean, I'm tempted to say, I know it's a ridiculous thing to do, but it wouldn't say you can drop your sword unless that's a sensible thing to do, or is it a terrible thing to do? I just don't know.
It could be the instant death version, or it could be the escape with not very much of a downside option. I think it's high risk, high reward. Is my
I mean,
initial thought.
I have a feeling that running for the door will result in them getting free hits on us, right?
Yeah, you would think so.
Maybe. So it's probably either fight or drop your sword.
Well, let's do it. If that's what your gut tells you to do, I have faith.
Drop the sword.
Yeah.
Okay, let's give it a shot. That's turn to 3, 4, 8. Drop the sword. 3, 4, 8. As soon as your sword hits the floor, the jagged weapons encircling you also drop to the floor. You realise it's too risky to pick up your sword again and are forced to leave the room without it. Oh,
What?
no. You must reduce your skill by 2 until you find another sword. And lose a point from luck.
Oh, hold on. We do have a dagger, though, don't we?
We do.
I mean, it's like a small sword.
It is like a small sword, yes. And luck -1. Oh, God. That puts my luck on 6.
And skill by 2.
Yeah. Which makes my skill 7.
Mine is 8. My stamina is currently 18. And my luck is now 8.
My stamina's 14. I am not doing all that well in terms of surviving this. Okay. Feeling defenceless, you make your way to the third door. Okay, well, at least it wasn't an instant death one.
I think I might have been a little bit spun around in this, in the mapping of this. So I'm going to say that was a room. There was another door.
There was. So it's sort of 3 rooms sort of parallel to each other, if you know what I mean. I think they were in a row on the same side of a corridor, roughly.
Okay.
I think.
We'll go with that. That kind of works. We'll put the first one over there.
Okay, we go to the third door. That's 2, 7, and 3.
We'll say we're going to go this way. 2, 7, 3.
The next door in the tunnel is made of solid iron. You press your ear against the cold metal, but hear nothing. If you want to open the door, turn to 87, or walk further up the tunnel, 23. Well, I mean, it remains a door.
Let's do it, Ben.
Let's do it. Okay,
I mean, we've got a
door.
room with 3 doors. I feel as though we've got to use one of them and continue on. Otherwise, it will be a very short stream.
Well, there is a further up the tunnel, so we can continue along the passageway. But let's try it, because it's a door. We have to open a door, don't we? It's the rules.
Yeah, precisely.
87. 87. You enter a derelict room that was once a torture chamber. All manner of instruments of pain are strewn about. Branding irons, knives, chains, thumbscrews, ropes, whips, and an iron maiden, all long since abandoned, lie covered in cobwebs on the stone floor. In the middle of the chamber you see a rack, the most feared torture instrument known. The skeleton of an unfortunate victim is still tied to the rack. The skeleton's jaw hangs open as though screaming in agony. On closer inspection, you notice a gold ring on one of the fingers of the skeleton. If you wish to take the ring, turn to 5, and if you'd rather leave the torture chamber and carry on up the tunnel, it's 23. I mean, it hasn't given us an are you sure, has it?
No. I've got a good feeling about this ring.
Okay.
After the trap that we fell into in the last room.
And to be fair,
I
it
may
would be
be way off.
cruel if the 3 rooms had 1 good room and 2 bad ones, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just trying to think as to whether that's fitting for the book that we're currently doing to just be cruel.
Well, let's take the ring and see how bad the news is. Okie dokie. It could be very bad news.
Uh-oh.
As you lean over the rack and reach for the skeleton's finger, you hear a smothered laugh coming from above. Looking up, you see a weighted net dropping down on top of you. Roll 2 dice. If the total is less than or equal to your skill, turn to 1 page, and if it's greater than your skill, turn to another.
Ooh, okay.
So what are we going to do? I'm tempted to say should we both roll and see. But then what happens if one of us makes it and
one gets one and one gets the other? That's very true.
Because this obviously could be an end of days one, especially since my skill is currently 7.
Ooh. Which, is average, less than or equal to, did you say?
It is, yeah.
It's statistically...
It's a better than 50% chance.
Average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how about I roll a die to determine which of us has to make the skill check? Is that reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go on then.
Do you fancy odds or evens?
I shall go odds, please, Ben.
Okay.
As I believe is tradition.
Indeed. And it's a 1, so it is an odd.
It is odd indeed. Luckily, I've been warming up my dice for such a...
Excellent.
For such a roll. And that is a 7, which is
less than or equal.
Statistically likely. But it was also less than my skill by 1.
Brilliant. So we turn to 339. You jump back just in time as the heavy net crashes down on top of the skeleton. Looking up, you see a hole in the ceiling. A green warty face with pointed nose, ears and chin is staring down at you. It's a goblin, and it is angry that it has failed to capture you. The goblin shakes its fist at you and spits, then disappears. We can climb up the rope that's hanging down from the ceiling attached to the net and chase after the goblin, or take the gold ring, as we originally planned, or leave the room and press on up the tunnel. So the weird thing is, I'm actually feeling better now about the gold ring.
Yeah, it feels as though we've passed the test.
Yeah, because it was used as bait, it could just be a basic gold ring, or it could be something valuable, but it was to bait the trap, wasn't it? It's less likely now that it's a trap itself.
Yes, that makes sense.
Logically.
Yeah. I agree, Ben. As I say, I have a good feeling about the ring. I think we should take the ring.
Okay. So we will take the skeleton's gold ring. Turn to 215. Okay. The gold ring is stamped with the number 30 and inscribed with the words, "Seeing is believing." We can place the ring on our finger or leave it with the skeleton, and then either climb the rope or leave the room and go further up the tunnel.
30.
30 and seeing is believing. So effectively, it basically, we either wear it or we leave it with the skeleton. We can't just stick it in a pouch.
Just take it with us.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as you say, I think it's less likely to actually be a trap.
Agreed. And numbered things are things we potentially like.
Yes, have been making notes of numbered things.
Yeah.
They are good things.
Okay, let's try wearing it. I mean, if it turns out to be a horrendous mistake, it's a horrendous mistake. But let's try it, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, we turn to 384.
There's been a lot in this one.
Okay. Nervously, you slip the ring over your forefinger. Nothing happens, except that a warm glow spreads slowly through your whole body. The strange feeling subsides, and now it's time to decide your next action. So we can climb the rope or leave the room and go further up the corridor. Okay, so gold ring with the number 30, seeing is believing.
On the finger.
So it might be that it's got a benefit later, maybe.
Yes. Yep.
So are we climbing or just heading along the corridor?
Part of me thinks that the goblin needs to be taught a lesson. But that being said,
I can live with teaching the goblin a lesson. I am conscious of the fact that we're currently basically unarmed, weak, and vulnerable.
that is true.
But if it's just a goblin, I think you're probably onto a good thing here. And we might find that the goblin has a stash, a place that it hides with lots of goodies in it.
Oh, that's true. Hopefully, a sword.
A sword,
would be,
perhaps.
Particularly helpful.
It would be.
I'm not holding out much hope, but it would be pretty good right about now.
Yeah, that would be handy. So would an item that removes a curse, or a gold dragon's tooth, or something.
Yeah. Gold dragon's tooth would be perfect.
I guess.
Go on then, if you're happy with it.
Yeah, I'm perfectly happy with that. Let's go after the goblin. We turn to 51, pursuing goblin.
I didn't think out how I'm going to try and map out climbing a rope.
You climb up through the hole in the ceiling into a small candlelit room with stone walls and a low roof, too low to allow you to stand upright. There's a narrow tunnel in one of the walls. A large sword hangs on the wall next to the tunnel entrance. Its blade is made of a dark, almost black metal. We can take the sword or squeeze through the narrow tunnel. I mean...
Did it just...
It feels like taking the sword is an absolute no-brainer, right?
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, it obviously could be a cursed sword or a trap or all sorts of things, but on the other hand, we really need a sword.
Yeah, I mean, cursed sword is better than no sword, surely. That might not actually be true.
It might not, but
it feels better.
We're going to take the sword, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we will take the sword and turn to 355. Scratched on the hilt of the sword is the name Darkblade Skullbiter.
Ooh.
The name sends a shiver down your spine when you remember that it belonged to one of the fiercest Chaos champions who ever lived. You wonder why Darkblade's legendary sword is hanging on a goblin's wall deep inside Firetop Mountain, but, for the time being, your question must remain unanswered. With the Chaos Champion's sword in hand, you squeeze yourself along the narrow tunnel. Okay, so we have Darkblade Skullbiter.
Ben, does that affect one of our? Do you want to take it? Do you want to put your skill up?
Oh, well, presumably we both dropped our
wanna...
swords, didn't we?
Yeah.
So I think we should
feels right.
both get it, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Because the reality is, of course, in the last room, one of us would have walked in to see what it was like while the other one stayed outside.
Yeah, I mean, potentially there could only be one sword to get in the whole
Yeah.
the rest of the dungeon. Okay.
Exactly. So I think we're both going to have to get our swords back, so to speak. Because it isn't really designed to be played with two characters.
Yes. Yeah. Indeed.
Okay, so we squeeze ourselves along the narrow tunnel, turn to 68. The tunnel is dark and you're forced to use your hands to grope along the floor ahead of you to avoid the chance of falling down an unseen shaft. About 20 metres further ahead, your hand encounters an iron spike that has been driven into the stone floor. Beyond the spike, the floor disappears and becomes a total black void. You are fairly sure that the tunnel ends at the far side of the shaft, since you can just barely make out a wall, a certain dead end. Just as you're wondering how far down it is to the bottom of the shaft, you hear the unnerving sound of metal grating on stone, coming along the tunnel behind you. You feel trapped. Perhaps it's the goblin, but how could it be behind you since you didn't find him in his room? We can turn around and crawl back along the tunnel, or attempt to climb down the shaft. That's a decision. Because obviously, I mean, we do have some... Do we have rope? Yes, we have rope.
We have got rope, which feels like this is a time for rope, if I'm honest.
Yeah, potentially. Well, it certainly could be, yeah.
Unless there's already a rope there, but...
Well, there's a spike, but not... It didn't mention a rope, put it that way.
Yeah.
Should we try climbing down then to avoid whatever the grinding sound was? Or do we want to face whatever the grinding sound was?
Well, that's the other thing, isn't it? On the flip side, we did just get an awesome named sword, although it did send shivers down our spine or something similar.
It did, yeah.
It's tricky. There's a route forward, isn't there? I say we try and climb down.
We'll try and climb down the shaft. Turn to 383.
Which could also go horribly wrong.
I mean, for the most part with these books, I'm just hoping the decisions we're making aren't fatal. If you're carrying some rope, turn to 303. We are carrying rope. So we get to turn to 303.
Yes, I completely agree. It's basically one decision at a time, trying not to die with some stuff in the background.
Yes, indeed. Right. You loop the rope around the metal spike and lower yourself slowly down into the inky blackness of the shaft. You reach the bottom a few metres below and retrieve your rope. And then it says if you're carrying a lantern, turn to 80, and if you don't have a lantern, turn to 278. Now, I seem to remember we were told right at the beginning that we had a lantern as part of our adventuring kit.
Yes, I've got one written down.
Yeah.
Sword, lantern, backpack, shield, dagger. Yeah.
So we do have a lantern. We will therefore turn to 80. It doesn't say, are you bright enough to light it or anything, you understand? It just says, do you have one?
Do you have anything to light it with?
Yeah. We are indeed carrying a lantern, so we get to turn to 80.
Very good.
Lighting your lantern, you find yourself in a small, empty chamber, which has a tunnel leading from its far wall. There appears to be a message on this wall written in yellow chalk. We can read the message or just walk straight along the tunnel. Now, obviously, messages could be magic or whatever, but we're not really going to just leave without reading the message, right?
No. That seems like it would be a bad idea, Ben.
Because I'm guessing that this is if you forgot you had a lantern or didn't remember whatever, or have lost it already in the game, then you don't get to read the message.
I mean, we're not going to read it out loud because that would be foolish.
That would be foolish.
We're certainly going to read it. You can read it out loud, but
well, I will read it out loud.
Cannot.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we'll read the message. Turn to 323. 323. Okay. The message reads, Demon's breath, slow death. Unless you eat some orc fleas, you will die by this curse. Zagor. Okie dokie. A short blast of warm, stinking air envelops you. This is demon's breath you have inhaled, and it will slowly poison you. From now on, each time you turn to a new paragraph, you must reduce your stamina by 1 point. If you fail to eat any orc fleas before your stamina is reduced to 0, you will die. Oh, goody. You waste no time entering the tunnel. Turn to 372.
No, I don't want to turn to 372. We'll just wait here. Right, okay. We didn't get rations, did we, for this one?
No, not at all, I'm afraid.
No, so we can't even top up a little bit. Well, that's one then. I'll make a tally rather than adjust. Oh no, actually, I should just adjust my stamina.
So 372.
Yeah, go down the stamina.
Reduce the stamina. Okay, I'm down to 13 stamina.
Wow, it's going to be the writing on the wall that gets us.
As so often is the case. The tunnel leads into a candlelit room. It is littered with many skulls, human and animal alike. 2 candles, both of which are burning in their brass holders, are mounted on wooden pedestals on either side of the tunnel's entrance. In the opposite wall, the tunnel continues into the distance, lit by a long line of torches. You step into the room, and as you do so, the skulls start to shuffle towards you, making the floor by the tunnel's entrance look like a cobbled path. If you try to leap over the skulls, turn to 47, or if you'd rather brave walking through them, turn to 173. I mean, I have a horrible feeling that leaping over it might be a skill check.
That kind of feels right. Maybe luck.
But walking through them could be, instant death, couldn't it? I don't know. What do you fancy?
Yeah, I don't know what walking through them is likely to be. That's the problem. It could be anything, I suppose, couldn't it?
I mean,
So I guess would you prefer a skill check, or would you prefer
if it turns out, I mean, I
the
don't know that it will be,
unknown?
but if it turns out to be a skill check, if we make it, we probably clear them, and if we don't, we probably take some damage. But we might have taken some damage anyway by walking through them. I
By
have
just
no
walking
idea.
through them. So should we try to leap?
Let's try to leap. Yeah, let's give it a shot. It is, after all, the heroic thing to do.
And that's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's very Errol Flynn to leap over things. We will turn to 47 and attempt to leap. You take a couple of steps back, then run forward and jump as far as you can over the skulls. Roll 2 dice. If the total is less than or equal to your skill, turn to 168. If it's greater than your skill, turn to 261. Okay. Odds or evens again? You're always odds, aren't you?
I try to be, yes.
And it's a 3. So it's your skill check we're going to use. Okay.
And our skill is back up now, isn't it? Because we have swords.
Yes.
In theory.
Yeah.
That's an 11 on the dice.
Oof.
Which is greater than my 10.
Oh no. Okay. So we take a hit of some kind. Let's find out what it is. If it's greater than your skill, turn to 261.
Wow. And take another point of stamina.
Oh, good point. Yes, we've got to take one there. I'd forgotten that one.
Yeah.
Every paragraph.
I've got
and
3
then another one.
Total so far. Yeah.
That's absolutely right. I'd missed one with the excitement of jumping. So we turn to 261. You don't manage to jump over all the skulls, but land on top of one. It rolls away under your foot and you turn your ankle, losing your balance and falling to the floor, sending skulls flying in all directions. For an instant, you're stunned, and you open your eyes to find yourself face to face with a wall of skulls shuffling towards you, their jaws snapping open and shut repeatedly, and making an eerie clacking sound which echoes round the room. One suddenly shoots forward and bites painfully into your left ear. 20 more skulls follow suit, each trying to find an exposed area of flesh to nip. Roll 1 die and deduct the number rolled from your stamina. If you're still alive, you jump up and run into the new tunnel. Well, the good news is, I'm definitely going to be still alive.
Yes.
The bad news is, I might not have a lot left. So I guess we each roll 1 die and see what it costs us.
Yeah, mine's a 3.
Mine's a 2, which, could be worse. But that does bring my stamina down to 9.
I am currently on 12, which is not good. We need some fleas.
If you're still alive, you jump up and run into the new tunnel, turn to 314. And obviously that costs us another stamina.
Yeah.
Which is, tremendous news. The tunnel ends at a solid wooden door. You try the handle and it turns. The door opens into another small stone-walled room with a door in the wall opposite. There's a trapdoor in the floor in the middle of the room which is empty apart from an ornate oak chair carved with figures standing in one corner. We can open the door opposite, open the trapdoor, or sit on the oak chair.
Wow, that's quite a few options.
I'm conscious of the fact we need to find orc fleas. Is it possible that the oak chair is infested with orc fleas because an orc sat in it?
I mean, it's certainly possible. Hmm. I don't know at this point. I guess anything could be possible. The chair certainly could be possible. They could be down the trapdoor,
They could be, yeah.
or there could be an orc in the next room.
There could, yeah. There
For all we
absolutely
know,
could.
it's
I can't decide. If we weren't against the clock, I would say let's try and sit on the oak chair and see what happens.
yeah. That's the thing is that I don't think.
But we are against the clock, so
Mm,
I can't choose. Um,
it does. It feels too close to choose or too potentially
yeah.
impactful to have to choose. I mean, we could sit in the chair and that could be another 4 paragraphs, or it could just be one that tells us that it's covered in fleas. Do you want to eat them? Which
Yes,
should be great.
it would. Um, okay, do we let dice decide then?
I'm happy with that. If you don't
Okay,
have
so
a
why don't you roll a
preference.
d6 for me? 1 and 2 will open the door, 3 and 4 will open the trap door, and 5 and 6 will sit on the chair.
Okay.
Because I have no idea what is the right choice when we're so much against the clock.
That's a 5.
So we're sitting on the chair.
Yep.
Okay, we turn to 269.
Which is one more. And I'm on 10.
You know, yeah, it's not going to actually make
Oh, okay.
that much of a difference.
Oh, great.
Sitting down on the smooth, polished chair, you immediately feel very relaxed and drowsy. You can't stop yourself from falling into a long, deep sleep. You eventually wake up
Peace.
after how long you don't know, but when you try to stand up, you find you can't move. You start to panic and try frantically to move, but you find it's impossible. You have fallen victim to the sap chair. In time, you will shrink to the height of no more than 10 centimetres and will form part of the ornate detail on the chair. Your adventure is over.
Wow.
Oh, damn it. Okay, now, obviously,
I
this isn't a part of the game, but I am genuinely curious what was in that trapdoor.
mm,
If we'd gone
I'm
to.
also
Or through the door, perhaps.
yeah. I feel as though I'd been given time to come to grips with the fact that this dragon's breath writing on the wall was gonna kill us.
Yeah.
Whereas this, there wasn't even
No,
a clue. There was no
nothing at all.
clue that I think we nothing written down. Just a chair, a trapdoor, and a door in a room. Which one do you want to
Yep.
choose? And if you choose the chair,
So if we'd opened the trapdoor, 368 that would have been. Um, we would have ended up having to fight some sewer rats. And if we'd won, gone to 108. And then it's just sit on the chair or open the door in the far wall. So
okay.
that's
So
it.
that would have just wasted 2
Yeah, and
plus
we'd have had a
combat
fight, potentially
stamina.
lost some stamina,
Yeah.
and wasted a couple of stamina anyway. So it would have been 283 was the potentially right choice. Open the door opposite. Um, However, it's a room full of statues and, well, the way it's described, let me read you the description. The door opens into a large room with a domed ceiling. The floor is made of polished marble on which 3 statues stand facing you, each mounted on a marble plinth. The statues are of warriors, and they all look as though their faces were set in stone at the very moment of a horrible death.
Oh no.
Their open mouths and screwed up eyes give the impression of sudden and intense pain. A fourth plinth stands on the floor but with no statue mounted on it, and there's another door in the wall opposite. As you enter the room to take a closer look at the statues, the door behind you slams shut. At the same time, a wide section of one wall starts to rise up. You can see the tail of a huge snake flick out from under the rising wall, and you hear loud hissing sounds. So, I'm going with basilisk.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
And from there, if we try to go through the new door, 138, it is locked. Oh, no, it's more like a Medusa. Small snakes writhing on the head of a what have you. It's a Gorgon.
Yeah.
So test your luck, and if you're lucky and if you're unlucky, and even if you're lucky, I suspect you need a mirror, which, to be fair, we do have.
We do have a mirror, yes. That is true.
Yeah. And if you prepare to fight there, 294. Will you fight your new adversary with your eyes open or closed? Yes.
Well, almost certainly closed.
Yeah. And you know that's the game, isn't it? Interestingly, 31. Yeah, it gives you the option to fight with a backpack and so on. But to be honest, I think even if we'd made the right choice, we'd have probably run out of stamina before we got to the orc fleas.
Yeah, potentially with a combat plus a few more paragraphs.
Because it asks you multiple questions. You know, do you want to try and open the door, or do you want to get ready to fight? And if you get ready to fight, do you want to fight with your eyes open or closed? And then you get the combat one, and then it says, you know, do you want to just fight her with your eyes closed or search in your backpack for something you can use? And then it'll say, do you have a mirror?
If yes, turn 2.
If yes, turn 2. And by the time it's done all that, my paltry 7 stamina, I think, would be done. Sadly.
Yes, and I would be very close behind you.
Yeah.
Well, it was a really interesting one, though. I liked it. I like the coded thing, and the numbers is good as well. And it's nice to have. It was almost felt like familiar ground, but it felt like a lot had changed. I don't necessarily know we took the same route, which might be the issue. But it felt very different to the original Firetop Mountain, but with some nice little throwbacks.
And yes, there were some reminiscences that I thought were fun, and there were definitely some bits that I thought were really, really well constructed. And even the writing on the wall being literally the writing on the wall, which I thought was quite a nice quite a nice little gag. But additionally, I was impressed by the bit outside the mountain to begin with, and the way it felt a bit more like a traditional RPG in the sense you ended up with a huge inventory selection of lots of different things to go for.
Yes, and you could choose quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
To be fair, or not? Wasn't there like a 2 coin cost to each or something, and you had a certain amount of coins?
That's right. Yeah, and
so you could pick as much or as little as you wanted.
And I think you had to find a little toy or something, didn't you, to give to the boy? Otherwise, you didn't necessarily get it at all.
Yeah. So we had something that they wanted, didn't they? A wooden block or something similar.
Yeah. Yes, a wooden ball and block. We never got to use the ball, but the block we got to use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt good. It felt like, as you say, like a bit more like an RPG with some, little missions and bits and pieces.
Yes, it was in fact highly successful. And I should also point out that even though this was part 2, we have just gone over the hour mark. So it hasn't been an absolutely pitiful and humiliating failure, merely
No.
a failure.
Yes. I, it feels kind of painful because, we just sat on a chair and that was our heroic end. But sometimes I suppose that's the way these things go.
Yeah, they do.
Especially when you're desperately trying to find orc fleas.
Yes. I mean, it would be extremely, extremely cruel to actually not have any orc fleas in the dungeon.
And just make you play out the next however many turns.
Yeah. Yes, that would be really brutal.
Yeah, I imagine they've got to be in there somewhere. It felt like a nice change as well. You sort of had to. I suppose you could have made decisions potentially more on how many paragraphs is this likely to get me.
Yeah.
If you got to the Medusa fight and it had given you the option to search through your backpack and you just said, you know what, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to fight because I might lose less stamina than an extra if your skill's good, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah. And I started the adventure with 11 skill, which is very healthy. In fact, I rolled 12, but then because that was relatively high compared to my stamina, I took a hit on it. But but then quite early on, I picked up a curse, which knocked it down to 9. And I was hoping for an opportunity to reverse the curse and get my skill back. Not that I think it would have made that much difference in the end.
Yeah. Two curses though. That's bad luck.
It is bad luck. Yeah.
It's certainly not bad decision making.
Yeah, and death by chair is possibly a new one for us.
Is that a new rule? No chairs, no natural doors, no chairs, always doors.
Well, as we know, there is a tradition of RPG streamers having a problem with chairs.
Indeed.
Yes. Yes, I seem to remember.
Funnily enough, though, we should have followed our rule here because the door would have been certainly the way forward.
You're right. That's absolutely true. The only problem is the trapdoor is also kind of a door.
Yeah. That is very true.
And that would have cost us, 3 of our stamina, something like that, if we'd gone for that.
Yeah, plus a battle, which you never know.
Which could have cost us some stamina. I mean, it's a tough ask. It's a tough ask. I think we did all right, but honestly, I don't think we set the world on fire with this one. It was, however, a very good game, this one. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, definitely. It felt like there was a lot more. Certainly, especially compared to the first one, which obviously was the first ever book, but it feels as though by this point they'd built a lot of extra things into, or found out a lot of extra things that they could do with the format, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, I think they did very, very well with this one. This was in Livingston one, Return to Firetop Mountain. It was the 50th one, which is I think why they did the throwback.
Yeah.
But as we know, there have been a few other occasions where you can revisit an old adventuring point, an old dungeon, and because we've done a couple of them. But this one worked for me very nicely. I enjoyed it greatly.
Yeah. It's very good. Lots of fun.
Yeah, excellent. Right. Well then, thank you very much to anybody who joined us live or on VOD. We always appreciate it. It's very kind of you, giving up your time for us. Sorry we didn't carry you all the way to the end of the story this time, but we will have another go at another one at some point in the future. And you never know, we might get wildly lucky and achieve something. Who knows? Until then, Ewan, I will bid you a good night.
Thank you very much, Ben. As always, good night.
Good night.